is Paul. We are here to do the Pitt wrap-up. In case you didn't know, you probably do because you tuned in. Thursday night we played Pittsburgh. We lost 38-31. 70,000 and change at that game. The biggest crowd to ever witness a sporting event in the city of Pittsburgh. Also, ESPN reported over 3 million viewers, monster ratings, they called it. So let's say, we're no strangers to this Pitt rivalry. We've been watching the Mountaineers for years and years, back when we used to play them every year.
We've seen loud crowds before. Apparently this was one of the loud ones, but we've seen them in the past.
Yes, we have, no doubt. We've lived and died over this game for a long time, and this is the first time we played him in 11 years. He was at the game when Bill McKenzie kicked the field goal at Mountaineer Stadium. I was at the game when Huss went around the end to score the winning touchdown. So we know a little bit about that, and we don't like to lose to Pittsburgh. I did pick us to win that game in our preview show, but we didn't get it done. And
I picked us to win, and if we played again tomorrow, I would pick us to win again.
Agreed. Now, for you folks out there who are complaining about the 4th and 1 call, and we'll jump right into it real quick. Let me just tell you one thing. If you watched the Nebraska-Northwestern game the week before in week 0, you know that Scott Frost went for an onside kick when he was ahead in Northwestern. Northwestern team was really not that good, and they weren't in the Northwestern's park that was in Ireland, halfway across the world. And he quoted after the game and said he thought he could put the game away. Well, it backfired on him, and he lost that game. But what if we don't make that 4th and 1 on that play? Then they score anyway. I'm just telling you, you can rant and complain about the strategy all you want, but to me, that was the right call to punt the ball right there. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, let me add, now that you've brought it up, it's not a hanging offense. Fans have the right to debate, second-guess things. That's fine. That's what we do, too.
Absolutely.
But strategically, football players, if you've played football and not just by a Madden game in your mom's basement, you understand that you go for it on 4th down when you don't trust your defense, when you're scared of the other offense, or when you're afraid that them have the ball at the end of the game. Coach Brown made the decision that he trusted our defense. He wasn't afraid of their offense, and that's the normal call. That's not to say that somebody else might have another call. They say Pitt's a whole lot better than us. We dare not let them have the ball. Let's go for it. That's possible. Or the basement dwellers that say, I don't care about $1 million contracts and stadiums. Go for it. What the hell? That's your luxury. That's not the luxury of the coach. So I think he made the right call. Feel free to say something different. But lay off my coach and my players because of that call. It's not a hanging offense.
We are Mountaineer fans here. We are fanatics. We're allowed to second guess. We're allowed to complain. But all this stuff about firing him after one game of the 4th season.
Okay, let's go on to the
review of the game. Initial thoughts. Tough one to get away, man. And Bryce Ford-Wheaton, nobody feels worse for him today in the last couple of days than me right here. That kid played such a great football game. He caught 2 touchdown passes. He made a great tackle on the special teams on the punt return. He caught that 50-50 ball where the defensive lineman got his hand hurt by hitting J.T. Daniels' arm, and the ball was popped up in the air. They get the ball there down inside our 20, then that's a whole different football game. But yet the ball went through his hands. And they can't even cover him. If the defender's up there where he's supposed to be, that ball goes through his hands, it goes out of bounds. But the defender was 4 yards behind him, and the ball just went right to it.
You people all watched the game and remember exactly which plays he's talking about. For those of you that do, he's making good points. For those of you that don't, we'll get to some more overviews of the game here.
One little piece of a bookkeeping or cleanup here. Charles Woods wore number 9 in that game. We always had him as number 23 in the program, and I don't understand why he changed it, but he did change it. He went out in the first quarter of the game, and that really changed our strategy. However, he's the defensive back.
Well, let me give you a summary here. West Virginia scored a touchdown on a blocked punt, moved the ball and put the ball in the end zone a couple of times, gave the ball up on an interception for a touchdown, and ended up losing the ball game even though we had a controversial call at the end. It looked like we had the touchdown that would have tied it. The Pitt fans are acting like they beat us. I don't think they did. I think it was a tough and come-and-go game. But there was some good and some bad that came out of it, and it's not all bad. We're a pretty good team. Go ahead.
I'm going to give you this. There's a couple of things that caught my attention. Wesley McCormick had a play there in the second quarter.
Wesley McCormick is the defensive back from West Virginia.
The transfer from JMU, and was pressed into that duty probably because Charles Woods was out. Played a lot more than I expected.
Charles Woods is our cornerback and probably our best defensive back, and we lost him to an injury on the first series of the game.
But there was a play where he saw the play coming, saw the route, saw the pass, went to the sidelines, was right there. He jumped up in the air to catch the ball. Just a mistake. He didn't have to jump to catch that ball. And when he jumped up in the air, he didn't even think about his feet coming down. Or that's a turnover when we're down on plus territory again. On the very next play, Dante Stills comes around and punches the ball out of a Pitt running back and didn't even know that he had punched the ball out. Of course, we don't recover it. So there's two opportunities that we don't take.
Let me fill in. What he's talking about is what should have been an interception. Our defensive back caught the ball and landed out of bounds, and he's saying that we didn't need to leap in the air to catch it. If we land in bounds, it's our ball. It's a turnover. On the next play, we stopped them cold, and as the line is pushing people around, the ball is squirting between people's feet. And nobody seems to notice. Once again, if you pick the ball up, it's a turnover. In both cases, Pitt kept the ball. They were lucky in both cases.
However, but I'm not going to go over the whole thing. I'm just going to go through. There's a couple things that stood out to me. First of all, they scored one touchdown where Hammond, their running back, just ran right over Lance Dixon on a third down play. That was really disheartening to see that. Dixon did not have a head of steam. Hammond was running really hard. Credit to that kid. He was a hard runner. In fact, credit to the Pitt team. They really didn't make a lot of mistakes in that game. If you go back and look at it, because I went back and watched it, they didn't make mistakes. They didn't beat themselves, but we did. C.J. Donaldson blocking the punt was beautiful. Our special teams were really good. Other than kickoff return, I thought our special teams were really good. Our kickoff coverage was good. We block a punt. Our punt coverage was good, trapping them deep a couple of times.
Talking about when C.J. blocked a Pitt kick, we recovered it and took it in for a touchdown. It was a nice turning point and gave us the lead.
I'm going to give some more good. J.T. Daniels is the real deal. That guy can play. He can throw. He's a leader. He knows the pocket. We were remarking during the game, his pocket presence. He's getting rushed, and he just makes it so effortlessly. Unfortunately, we had a guy last year who did not have that pocket presence. In fact, that guy, he's not even a starter in Division I. He transferred to one place and then transferred again and can't even get the starting job. Well, we won 6 games with him, though. That's pretty interesting. That's the best we had last year. So J.T. Daniels is the real deal. I think he's going to be quite good for us this year.
He's talking about our quarterback from last year, Jared Peggy. He transferred to Western Michigan, couldn't get the starting job, then transferred to Troy, and the rumor is that he's the backup quarterback at Troy. Doesn't it say something about the coaching staff and the defense and the team last year when we had the success we did have with the quality quarterback we did have?
Our defensive line played very well. Remember, their offensive line was 5th or 6th year seniors, and sometimes they were running 6 and 7 guys on the offensive line, but we had 5 sacks.
Narduzzi said it may have been the best offensive line in Pitt history. And better than the Green Bay Packers, better than the NFL. It was the greatest offensive line
couldn't run the ball for
and
less
they
than 100 yards.
didn't do well against the Mountaineers defensive line.
But our Achilles heel on our defense was our secondary. They could cover people most of the time, but they could not tackle them. And I heard some people complaining about why do we run so much soft zone. Well, if you saw the first series of the second half, Wesley McCormick could not cover means. We had one where he's wide open, a bad pass, and another one where he's wide open and he drops it, or those have been touchdowns. We could not play man-to-man against their receivers, in my opinion. I think the coaches played the right scheme there, too. But again, it was players to make plays. The better players made plays against the lesser player. It was there for the taking. We could have won that game. But it wasn't going to be a scheme thing. It was going to have to be one on the field. And we made more mistakes, and they didn't. That's really what it comes down to. So if you're not okay with that, then I'm sorry. Don't watch us, because we're behind the guys. I'm rooting for my coach. I'm rooting for my team all the time. I love C.J. Donaldson, a freshman. What a bright future. J.T. Daniels hangs around. What a bright future there. Our wide receivers need to catch the ball. Catch the ball. Get that machine out and make them catch a bunch of passes again. Our offensive line, some people complained about them, but I think overall, if that defense is as good as I think it is, then our offensive line showed up well in this game. I think it's a very good grade for the overall performance of the team, but you lost to a conference champion in their park, in their home opener.
I think he's covered from it and move it. I think he's covered pretty much my points, but let me go over them again. First, the bad. The bad is really that Pitt's pretty good. Pitt is quick. Pitt, when you do open a hole against them, they close the hole fast. Pitt tackles. Pitt doesn't arm tackle. Pitt doesn't miss many tackles, and Pitt's very physical. They do have solid lines on both offense and defense, and they're redshirt seniors and redshirt grad transfers. They're in lots of cases playing against us, and we have sophomores and juniors against them, and a knit-together line. But again, Pitt played pretty well. They've got a couple of very tough running backs. Their receivers are above average. Their quarterback needs some work, but they're a solid team, and that's bad for us. What else is bad for us? Our receivers. We drop balls all over the field. You don't have Davey to blame anymore for that. You guys could have made Davey look good last year by catching balls that weren't very well thrown, but you didn't. Well, now we've got a quarterback that puts it right into your hands. You've got to catch the ball. Both our tight ends dropped easy first downs. Both of our go-to receivers dropped balls right in their hands. Of course, the horrible knock it up in the air turns into a touchdown. If he just dropped that instead of knocking it in the air, we win that ball game. When 22 guys are on the field and 21 of them are doing their job and our quarterback delivers it to your hands, you've got to catch it.
But I'm a big fan, and I'm still going to be a fan of them, and I'm going to root for them, and I'm not firing
people drop balls.
Because bad things happen.
People drop balls, and we just got to catch it. And I'll add one other thing on the comments. It doesn't do us any good to have a fast receiver if he's going to catch the ball and get tackled immediately. We've got to hit him in stride. I thought last year's offensive schemes had spot passes because of Gerald Beatty. We've got to get the ball in stride. Otherwise, go with some of the receivers that have better hands. If you're not going to gain the ground after the catch anyway, go with Fox or somebody that will catch the ball. We can't have the drops.
I think some of that in stride will come as timing gets better between the quarterback and receivers. That's my opinion.
The second negative I have is our defensive secondary. Now, I'll give the guys some credit. I suspect their coverage is pretty good. A couple of times we sacked Slovis, and some of the credit is because he looked down the field and didn't see open people. A couple of times they were beat deep, and the Pitt people were nice enough to drop the ball. But that's coverage. Whenever they got the ball on behind our linebackers, behind Koba, we didn't tackle them. We ran around slapping at him with a standing straight up. You win those battles by tackling. If you can't take him on straight up, you got to wrap up his knees. And then when they were down within the 5-yard line, they'd hand it off tackle, and their running back would plow over our guys like a truck going over a bicycle. That's got to stop. Even if it means we give up something on coverage, you've got to have some tacklers in there, and you win those battles in the weight room. Now, I know they're young, I know they're transfers, but we won't win 8 games if we can't tackle. And I'm a defensive guy. Now, the next is mistakes. I'm a little lighter on this because it was an opening, it was a packed stadium, it was a hostile crowd, but false starts, personal fouls, that stuff can't happen. You're going to get picked at with some dirty teams, and there was some dirty stuff in this one. We've got to eliminate.
What would you expect? Anything different?
On the positives, let me tell you something. West Virginia has the best quarterback they've had in years. This guy's good. He puts it right in your hands. He scrambles. He sees the open field. He doesn't have to look at a card on his wrist. He hits the guy in the hands. I apologize to him for some of the mistakes we made, because some of the nerds 6 months from now are going to look at his passing stats and say his completion rate was X. And it's not going to reflect in the stats that he put the ball right where it needed to be time and again, and we dropped it. It's a good quarterback. We're lucky to have him. It's a hole that was plugged nicely. The second positive is running backs. I like the way Mathis developed during the course of the game. I think he shocks a little bit when he runs the ball, and Pitt closes those holes quick. So if you're going to play against a good defense like Pitt, you can't shock. You've got to hit the hole fast. But the other plus is C.J. Donaldson. My goodness, this boy is a hell of a good running back. We've got a great 1-2 running back combination, along with an excellent offensive line. I think the line did a good job. I think both offensive and defensive lines did great jobs against the most fabulous lines in the history of football at Pittsburgh. I'm also delighted with special teams. In the past, all the way back to Dana Holgerson, they punt the ball, and I almost hoped we didn't put anybody back there because we had penalties, we had bad field position. These special teams are a marked improvement over last year. We're kicking field goals, we're punting the ball well, we're putting the other team back, we're covering the ball well, our kickoffs are going through the end zones. A lot of reasons to be optimistic here. Then I have my own rant. My rant is about West Virginia's image and what I call trans fans. They're not really fans yet. They identify as fans, but they're not really fans. They haven't had the operation yet. And they spend their time grousing and bellyaching about firing a coach, benching a quarterback, or complaining that we don't beat national championship teams every year. Be frustrated, be angry, but don't attack my program. Guys, if you don't want to be positive about it, if you don't want to offer constructive criticism, my advice is go ahead and get the operation and become a Virginia Tech or a Pitt fan or an Ohio State fan and follow them around. Ohio State bellyaches when they're only 11-2. And I call on you fans, because if you watch this long, you're real fans. Feel free to complain. I'm going to complain too. But tell the trans fans to shut up or move on. We don't need an image of West Virginia of whiny complainers. The refs are always against us. ESPN's always against us. Our coach sucks. Our quarterback sucks. We don't need that image. We need to recruit people. We need to have a good, solid image of we can handle that. We can do it anyway. I wouldn't have done that, but we did it anyway. We're gonna win the next one. That's what the real fans need to be promoting.
Well said.
Well said out there.
Well said, and that's right. So share this with folks like-minded, and thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Continue to do that.
If we played Pitt tomorrow, we beat them again. They're a good team. I think they're going to get better, but we're a very good team. We're going to win some games if we address these problems.
Thank you for watching.